animated kids movies are supposed to be safe, right? Bright colors, talking animals, sing-alongs. Well, tell that to the movies on today's lists, because for decades, animators have been sneaking bone-chilling, nightmare-inducing material into children's entertainment. These are the films that scared the absolute hell out of us when we were kids, and honestly, they're still kinda terrifying today. So grab your popcorn and maybe a nightlight, because tonight I am counting down the 13 creepiest animated kids movies ever made. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. Alright, so animated kids movies. Now this is not just animated movies in general. So if it came out and it was R-rated, targeted towards adults, you're not going to find that on here. Nothing like heavy metal or any kind of thing like that. These are movies that were made for kids, but either intentionally or unintentionally went super duper dark. So let's get right to the list. With number 13, we go all the way back to 1940 and Fantasia. Disney's big artistic swing here with Fantasia, part symphony, part experimental head trip. Sure, you get Mickey Mouse with the magic in The Sorcerer's Apprentice, my favorite version of Mickey, but then you get A Night on Bald Mountain. That's where Disney introduces literally Satan. You've got Chernabog, who rises from the mountain to summon ghosts, demons, tortured souls. It's basically a fire-lit symphony of the damned. You get Disney showing that in 1940, which is kind of hard for me to wrap my head around, but I love the movie. That's part of why we're here. No wonder, though, your grandparents thought, back in the day that cartoons were for the devil. He was literally there in Fantasia. But it is still one of the most sort of almost like heavy death metal sequences ever put to film. You got Chernabog coming up. I mean, you can literally hear, in your head, Iron Maiden or something playing in the background. Fantasia, deep, dark, definitely creepy. It comes in at number 13 on this list. Now, at number 12 on this list, we stay with Disney and we stay in the 1940s with 1949's The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, but really, we're talking about the Sleepy Hollow segment here. It's a double feature, but Sleepy Hollow's the focus, and Disney does not hold back. Ichabod Crane is wandering through the woods with only his lantern up there. You have dark shadows closing in, and then suddenly, boom, there is the Headless Horseman himself, a flaming pumpkin head skull flying through the air at you. It's not just mildly spooky, it's straight up gothic horror in Disney Technicolor. You watch it as a kid, and suddenly every dark corner, every dark shadow space has you fearing that there's something that's about to cause you to lose your head right around the corner. You've got that German surrealism that's back there with those sharp angles and sharp shadows. It is set up to be scary, and it accomplishes it 100%. I think it belongs on this list. It comes in at number 12. Now, at number 11 on this list, we go to 1998 and Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. This is the one where Scooby-Doo finally, 100% unequivocally, grew a backbone, left nothing ambiguous, and said, the spooks are real. So for decades, the Scooby-Doo villains, for the most part, were just cranky old men in masks, you meddling kids waving a finger at the end. There were some that were left a little ambiguous, but Zombie Island took all the ambiguity out of it. They are 100% real. Zombies are real. Ghosts are real. And those cat women soul-stealing monsters, pretty damn terrifying. That was the first time, really, that Scooby-Doo left nothing to chance and said, we're committing 100% to horror and we're going to unmask it for everyone to see. The setting is pure horror. You've got foggy swamps, nighttime, undead crawling out of the ground. Very gothic horror filtered through the lens of Scooby-Doo and sort of Saturday morning cartoon feel. But it is still one of the best Scooby stories for me ever told. And I'm a hardcore Scooby-Doo fan, hard to please because I love the classics with the running music montages from back in the day. But Scooby-Doo Zombie Island, going all in on the horror being real, you gotta love it. It comes in on this list at number 11. Now, number 10 on this list is one you may not see coming, but you just have to hear me out. 1989's All Dogs Go to Heaven. Don Bluth. This is not going to be the last time we hear from Don Bluth on this list. He's the man that looked at Disney happy endings and said, nah, bro. We're going to traumatize children more instead. All Dogs Go to Heaven is the story of a con artist dog that dies and cons his way back to Earth and spends the rest of the time, the rest of the movie, trying not to get dragged back to hell. And when I say hell, I mean actual, literal hell. There's a sequence where Charlie is literally dragged into a nightmare of demons, fire, and damnation. This is supposed to be a kid's movie. A movie about dogs, and basically it's Faust with barking. Only Don Bluth, I'm telling you, we're going to hear from him again, could make a movie where the happy ending still feels somewhat existentially, vaguely unsettling in some ways, and there's backstory behind the movie and stuff that kind of adds to it. All Dogs Go to Heaven, definitely some creepy imagery. I think it belongs here. It comes in at number 10. Now, number 9 is one I saw many times growing up, going back to 1982 with The Last Unicorn. This one looks like a fairy tale, which fairy tales, especially the old Grimm fairy tales, they can be creepy and scary anyway. But this one is definitely like a otherworldly, almost more existential horror in disguise. It's about a unicorn realizing that she might be the last of her kind, and she's hunted by a terrifying red bull. And that red bull, holy hell, giant, fiery, relentless, pushing unicorns into the sea. The whole thing is dreamlike, nightmare-scape dreamlike, very like sad, melancholy, and haunting. It's just got this whole creeping sadness over the whole film. It's less about magic and more about the death of innocence, which just kind of makes it more unsettling. So kids went into this thing expecting sparkles and unicorns and rainbows and happiness, and instead they got this like horror nightmare crisis, all narrated by Jeff Bridges. I think The Last Unicorn, which has a great 4K out by Scream Factory right now, check it out. Do yourself a favor, but don't say I didn't warn you. It comes in at number 9. Now, number 8 is one that I think is criminally underrated as just a gem of horror or Halloween season in particular. It's 1993's The Halloween Tree, which is based on Ray Bradbury's novel, The Halloween Tree. And Ray Bradbury, already famous for capturing these creepy vibes. One of my favorites all time is Something Wicked This Way Comes. But this one is about a group of kids traveling through time to learn the origins of Halloween traditions while trying to save their sick friend's soul. That sounds cozy, right? Nope. Instead, it is filled with all this death imagery, creepy spirits, a towering skeletal like creepy figure who's their guide named Mr. Monshroud, voiced by Leonard Nimoy, so it adds this whole gravitas to it. It's a cartoon that straight up basically says this. It tells kids death is real, traditions of Halloween are tied to the fear of death, and Halloween is basically mankind's way of coping with their own mortality because you're going to die. Sleep tight, kids. That's basically what it does. The Halloween Tree, full of autumnal atmosphere, a great watch. I love it, but it is creepy. There is no doubt. So it comes in at number 8. Now, number 7 on this list is one of the newer films on this list. I don't have a lot of super new films on this list, but this one, although now about 20 years old, is 2006's Monster House. And I gotta admit, this one kind of snuck up on me because I was well past being a kid, on to having kids of my own at this point, or close to it. This one is mid-2000s, and Monster House is about, well, exactly what it says. It's about a literal monster haunted house that eats people. Not haunted in a fun way, but a house with a giant mouthful of like teeth swallowing children whole. But what makes it creepier is it's got this whole big like sad, creepy, emotional backstory to it. The house is possessed by the spirit of the former owner, a woman who died tragically. So yeah, if you went in there as a kid or an adult even, expecting CGI, goofy antics and all this stuff, you're going to get a house that will eat people. You're going to have all this trauma, and it's all going to be blended up into this scary suburban nightmare. It's one of those kids' movies that's actually kind of gets scarier the older you get and watch it, and you kind of pick up on more and more things, and that just somehow to me makes it even more disturbing. So Monster House from 2006 comes in at number 7. Now, every time I make a list, I feel like I hear about number 6 right here. And a lot of times I'm saying, hey, this isn't a list for animated films or whatever. That's why it's not on here. I know the film, but it's not on here. I grew up at the perfect time for this film. I'm talking 1978's Watership Down. And there you go. For those of you who have been asking me, here it is. Yes, I knew it was out there. It's got to fit on the list. It fits here perfectly because nothing says fun kids movie like a film where rabbits get shredded, shot, strangled, and ripped apart by dogs, right? Every time I'm like, why do y'all want this movie on this list? This movie is disturbing. Well, this is the list for that. Watership Down is definitely the bloodiest G-rated film ever made. It's got to be. Sure, it's supposed to be like an allegory for survival and community and all that, but when you're like 6 or 7 and you see it and you see adorable cartoon rabbits being slaughtered by by stuff in brutal detail, not so much. The animation might be beautiful, but it is shockingly violent, especially for something that still hangs on to a G rating. The movie, because of that, tricked parents with, it's beautiful bunny cover art, all this kind of stuff. And for this movie is part of the reason why today so many 80s kids might need a little bit of therapy when it comes to some of their animated films. Watership Down, disturbing. I don't own it. I don't care to rewatch this thing again and again. So all of you out there who love it, here you go. It comes in at number 6. All right, number 5 on this list. I promised you had not heard the last of Don Bluth, and here he is. This is one that I wore out. I've seen this movie a million times. It's 1982's The Secret of NIMH. Don Bluth striking again. The Secret of NIMH is dark. It's moody and pretty much a terrifying story about genetically engineered rats and a mother mouse trying to save her child. But the tone of the thing is super grim. There's blood, there's sword fights, apocalyptic style visions that you can do with animation because you're not really beholden to other things. You can create anything. For me, what sticks out with this thing, though, is the owl. The owl looks like he came straight out of, like, hell, like the ninth circle of Dante's Inferno. The great owl sequence alone, to me, was always kind of nightmare fuel. He has, like, the glowing eyes. You got the bones all over the floor when you see him, and a voice that sounds like it's coming from death itself. This isn't a Saturday morning cartoon style movie. It's not that kind of material. It's straight up gothic horror dressed up as a kid's adventure. The Secret of NIMH, not for the faint of heart, not to be taken lightly just because it's animated. It comes in at number 5. Now, at number 4, we go back to Disney again, and the 80s again. Us 80s kids, that's why you can take anything if you're Gen Xer or you're 80s kid. 1985's The Black Cauldron. Ah, yes, Disney. That time they said, hey, let's try traumatizing kids for once, or maybe for the 50th time. The Black Cauldron, though, might be Disney's darkest overall film, and you can tell they panicked about that once they released it, because after they released it, they tried to bury it. It's still not always the easiest to come by, because you have the villain, the Horn King, voiced by John Hurt, who looks like Skeletor's scarier cousin, and his plan is to use the cauldron to bring forth an army of undead warriors. So that is a horror concept already right there. The Cauldron Born sequence is terrifying. Skeletons rising, green fire everywhere, the soundtrack booming like a hellscape itself. No songs, no happy animals, just Disney dabbling in basically a death metal filling movie for about 90 minutes. The Black Cauldron, pure nightmare fuel, dark, gothic, creepy, belongs high on this list. It comes in at number 4. Now, number 3 on this list is another one that's pretty new. Like I said, there's a couple on here, and this one, I was about 30 years old when this one hit, so, you know, no big problem, right? It's an animated film. Well, 2009's 9 is pretty damn scary. This one was marketed as a cool steampunk robots kind of thing for kids, but 9 actually turns out to be basically a post-apocalyptic nightmare, because humanity is dead. It's like after all that, and now machines roam the earth hunting the last survivors, who just happen to be these like ragdoll-like creations that are stitched together with souls. It's kind of bleak. Like, a lot of it kind of reminds me of like the flash forwards in the Terminator, where the Terminators are hunting and trying to wipe out the rest of humanity. That's what it feels like. It feels less like a Pixar film and more like if you gave David Lynch Terminator flash forwards to do. That's what it feels like. It feels like that. And I don't really know how else to put it on there, but there's definitely some of those David Lynch vibes. It's kind of weird. And then the Terminator vibe, and it's just creepy overall. It's pretty gorgeous to look at as far as the animation goes. But if you showed this to your kid, congrats. They're probably going to live in lifelong fear of your sewing kits from now on, because this thing is creepy, and good luck getting them to watch the Terminator. They're going to have flashbacks to 9. It comes in at number 3. Now, number 2 on this list is another one that a lot of people clamor for whenever I'm putting together a list, and I'm always like, this is not animated. I don't usually put animated films with non-animated films on lists. Sometimes, but most of the time not. This particular film, though, fits perfectly on this list. It's another one from 2009. 2009 was apparently about disturbing kids one more time with animation. With this one, it was Coraline. So they basically said, let's give kids some very existential dread and horror and very creepy vibes with more things kind of sewed up. Coraline is the story of a little girl who finds a door to a parallel world where her other mother wants to sew buttons into her eyes. That is creepy. Anytime people start doing things with eyes, it's creepy, it's weird, it weirds me out. So yeah, buttons sewed over the eyes. The stop motion kind of adds to the creepy factor for me here. Feels very disturbing, kind of a little too real, and the imagery is pretty messed up. It kind of adds to the whole creep factor. The spider with the ghost children trapped in the walls, all that stuff, legitimately terrifying. This is a movie that traumatized a lot of kids, and critics applauded how beautiful it was. It's been parodied by The Simpsons' Treehouse of Horror. Not my favorite. I haven't seen it a bunch of times. That whole eye thing wigs me out. It's creepy. Definitely belongs on this list. Not so much for me, but if you want the creepiest of creepy animated films, we have to talk Coraline. It comes in at number 2. And that just leaves number 1. And I don't think there's really an argument against my number 1 here. You could say there's others that are maybe scarier, all that. There is maybe no more that are more notorious, though, for fitting onto a list like this than 1993's The Nightmare Before Christmas. Of course, we end with the king of all this. I have friends that love it. I have to admit, I've only ever made it through this movie one time. My wife will not watch it. She doesn't like it. But The Nightmare Before Christmas is a beloved classic now by many. Merchandise sold all over the place. But think about what it actually is. It's a musical about skeletons, monsters, demons, stitched up corpses, and a kidnapped torture subplot involving Santa Claus. It's gothic, it's weird, and at times it is just downright pretty damn creepy. But because it's drenched in charm and Tim Burton's quirky energy, it became a ultimate sort of gateway horror movie for kids. The stop motion, you got Danny Elfman's songs in here, the whole Halloween meets Christmas mashup that helps make it unforgettable. I mean, I'll get the song stuck in my head all the time. This is Halloween. And there's a great Halloween overlay for the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland that I got to see with The Nightmare Before Christmas. And even not being the biggest fan of this movie, it just kind of sucks you in. So I understand the appeal. Definitely creepy. Definitely one of the most well-known and ubiquitous of creepy kids animated movies. The Nightmare Before Christmas had to be here. It comes in at number 1. So there you have it, 13 animated kids movies that prove animation isn't just for Disney princesses, it is also for horror, existential dread and creepiness, hellfire, demons and damnations, and occasionally a dismembered bunny, apparently for some of you out there. So which one of these traumatized you the most as a kid? Let me know in the comments. Let me know which ones that I missed. Remember, I kept this to ones that were targeted at kids, so you don't see the stuff like heavy metal and different things like that, though I don't really find that one that scary. But this is animated for kids. So let me know some of your favorites that didn't quite make the list. Which one of these are your favorites? And I hope you've enjoyed this. We're all spooky season focused right now, so we love talking about things like this. But I do all kinds of movie lists, movie recommendations, and if you help support the channel even more and join my Patreon, over there you'll get to see special members videos where I do 4K deep dive reviews, big discussions of films, all kinds of stuff, and everything goes back into the channel. But if you just like and subscribe, that helps us out a whole lot here too, and hang around and go through more creepy lists with us. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. I know.